I kicked the camera, whatever. Hello, rats! How are you today? I hope you're feeling splendid. I hope you're feeling marvelous. I hope you're feeling yourselves today because a lot of skinwalkers walking around. Believe it or not, I probably should even say that. Not skinwalkers, I'm sorry. I had a different word for them. Shapeshifters, changers, skin changers. Oh no, I'm sorry. But hello all of you. Welcome to another episode with the video of Songs and Sorcery with your host, with your lord, Leonok, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be actually recording an episode because it's been quite some time since I've done so. And honestly, and it is my fault, honestly, but seeing how busy my life has become over the past few, months or weeks, that sort of thing is sort of understandable. And I do so with the utmost of, reprehension against myself because I feel like I need to. Now let me see which one would fit me right now. I'm looking at my gloves. I think I'm going to need it right now. I played for you a little something. I hope you like it. It's another song that I myself have created with no one's aid. And it is a dedicatory song to a certain goddess. So I hope all of you sort of enjoy that little snippet. I do have quite more of my repertoire, although I want to sort of, iron out the kinks just to make it a lot more palatable. That is done again on the grating soprano recorder. And does it hurt my ears a little bit? But it's the only one I have down here because I keep forgetting to bring my other one, my preferred, my preferred sound, which I tend to like quite a bit. It's easier to play on that one, yes, because the finger holes are a bit closer together. You can do quicker movements on things like that, but it's a whole process. But I wouldn't be, I would be remiss without mentioning my beautiful and brilliant co-host, Grimmy! Hello, Grimmy. How are you today? You're good. You look marvelous, darling. Have I ever told you that? Yes. Oh, you have something to talk about today. Well, as do I. Were you reading my mind again? You dog. No, that was not with you. I'm sorry. No. It was not another book. Don't be jealous. Don't be like that. Okay. Yes. Yeah. No, we're not gonna talk about that. No. We're not gonna talk about that. Okay. So without further more delay, let's just get into the video. So I've been thinking a lot about a lot of ameliorative subjects. A lot of things I think I need to be talking about. The thing what you're talking about today is something that I think is talked about so often on these channels, and it is something that everyone, I guess, just sort of does different methods of doing this sort of thing, and it works for them. That's splendid. But I think I sort of wanted to go into whether or not it's absolutely necessary to engage with this sort of thing on a daily basis, because I feel as though if you're not allowing certain things in, you're going to be missing out on certain experiences which could perhaps prove beneficial to you. So, the subject for today is going to be protection as a first, but whether or not you need it. I feel as though in so many witch books and things we have, we have Jason Miller, Protection and Universal Magic, highly recommended as well. We have other things that talk about protection. I can't put my quite finger on the names or whatever, but his sort of came into me. It came to me. But it was a subject that I think obviously to sort of, I think, dive into a bit deeper. What sort of things can count as protection, and what sort of things I think shouldn't. It doesn't really need to be needed. I am under the belief, the impression that something like protection magic should be something reserved for specific times and moments. You're not going to erect a wall around your house the entire time. Anything goes down. Anything you think might happen goes down. It is unsightly. And when you put up gates or fences around your house, it tends to turn people off. Some people actually get rather offended, which is ridiculous. And I feel as though the same can be sort of said for the spirits in the other realm. Now, I'm still trying to, communicate, go into these workings, but I'm sort of, throwing things and ideas out there that I think we should consider when we're approaching this sort of method when it comes to the craft. Or when it comes to magic in general, if you don't really do craft, okay? But it is something that I think a lot of people to sort of keep in mind when we're talking about things like protection. We have things like personal protection. We have things like outer protection. What's the right word I'm looking for? We seek to, there's one where we have outer protection. We have protection over the things that are in our possession. We have protection over others as well. I think there's 3 different names for this sort of thing, perhaps a bit more. If I can figure them out, I would put them here. But I think when it comes to protection in general, we all, of course, one must protect the home because that is where one goes to roost. That is where you go to relax, to recharge, to unwind, and just to be happy. It's sort of a safe haven from the chaotic world we all live in. But when we couldn't go into personal protection, things like wearing charms, I think there comes a point where I think that might be detrimental overall to what we are, I think, trying to achieve. If you are a person of a certain inclination when it comes to contacting certain forces, I feel as though when you have so many protections in place and on your person, you're sort of shielding yourself from any sort of outside influence, that could be a potential issue. You're shielding yourself from, any potential benefits as well. Because I feel as though what is a bit ridiculous, and I think I can understand, you're sort of trying to create this do everything charm, a sort of charm or protective, spell or ritual you do to protect yourself from any, bad luck or anything like that. But I think when you put up a wall, it sort of keeps everything out, anything potentially beneficial not to you. So what you do is that you have a sort of door that allows entry in and out of the protective wall of this barrier. So when you have, and sure, you could put certain things in place. Like, for example, you could say, well, everything out, but these specific things in. You can make like a filter for the protection you're doing. And I think it can help, but you're still, I think, keeping away the majority of the good things you could be having, or the majority of the things you could be experiencing by having a wall, a barrier to begin with. I think it is less obtrusive when you have something a bit more compact to your person. When it comes to protection, I feel as though of course it's needed at all times, but I think it is important to know whether or not you're going to be, fully clad in armor or you're just going to have a shield. This is an analogy I'm sort of going for, okay? When it comes to a shield is something that you can erect at any time when you feel a sense danger. You can unequip your shield, you can put it up. But whenever you put it up, it's because you sense danger coming or you're not sure about what's to happen. The shield is activating and it's working as it's intended. You can sort of see what's happening and you're aware of danger that's happening. The problem is that when you have a shield up at all times, it can sort of, turn away potential conversations or boons you could have. Because you're sort of treating every moment, every situation as a possible danger. And you're not allowing yourself to be open to these new experiences. When we're talking about things like protection, at least in my case, I seldom use any because I'm sort of learning how to adapt to these situations because I feel like that's important too. You can wear armor at all times, that's fine. You can have a shield at all times as well, but I feel as though when it comes to the spirit of anything else, or things like emotions or just interactions in the day, what you wear, what sort of armor you're wearing, and what sort of war you are presenting can have an overall effect into your interactions with other spirits, both living or dead. I feel as though my take is that you have none, but you learn how to avoid danger, or you learn how to sort of adapt and move out of its way when you're trying to. You're not going into a festival fully clad in armor because it's going to turn some people out. Some people might be like, oh, he's wearing armor, it's kind of cool. But in a broad sense, most people are going to probably keep to this because I'm not really sure what to expect, depending on where you're going. I, for example, have laid down sigils and or runes in my quarters to sort of keep away certain influences. And for the most part, I believe they are working. Maybe a little bit too well, I think, sometimes, because I feel as though I haven't had really any interactions at all for quite some time, and that's a bit worrisome to me. I feel as though, in order for someone to, be better equipped against thy enemy, one must know thy enemy. But also, to get to know people requires a bit of vulnerability and openness that is required to sort of help bridge that gap. There are many spirits out there, both, beneficial or not so much. They're not fully clad in armor, that are just going out into the, wilderness to sort of explore and adventure to meet new people. When you're going to market, you're not going, fully clad up or whatever. It's different depending on what area you're in. If the area which you are traveling, if your location is immensely dangerous, then yes, you should wear protection of some kind, okay? But when you are within good company or believe the area you feel is better, I suggest you probably should take it a bit off, because everyone out there is scared of running into problems. Everyone out there is scared of running into something that could do harm. But then you are sort of living in a state of fear. It is good to have protection. I encourage you every time after every video, make sure you practice protection, whether it's sex or magic. I say that every time, but it is learning when to use that protection that matters. Because otherwise you're going to deprive yourself of brilliant and wonderful experiences. And I guess in a way, you can sort of do these things without the need of protection. You can sort of erect a shield if you have that sort of ability or that sort of power. Not all of us sort of have that. Some of us might have trouble visualizing certain things. So it makes certain charms to help act in our favor that could do the same thing. But when it comes to things like, protecting yourself against, when you just go out, I think that is fine, because some people try to be specific with, I'm trying to keep certain energies out and only good things in or whatever. But I feel as though there has to be more to it, because I feel as though we're trying to sort of make everything easy, which is fine. But I don't really necessarily believe that this is something that is going to essentially work the way you want it to. Like, if you are, for example, like, let's just say a hard example, okay? You're going in for a job interview, or perhaps you're going in to have some good luck given your way. You have protection magic. You want to, prevent yourself from being affected by outside influences as a basic thing. That charm that you're wearing could be stopping this potential job or this potential luck from reaching your way, because it could perhaps look a bit different. Sometimes what we consider good luck could be something that I guess a bit more negative in disguise. It can have perhaps an outward portrayal or image of being negative, but the boost you get from it can be quite beneficial to you. Like fighting poison with poison. You're using something negative to give you a positive result. Understanding how fire works and learning how to use it in certain areas. Fire in general can be something very beneficial, something very baneful to anyone's life. And so, but if you're always clad up and if you never want to interact with fire because of the danger it poses, you're never going to know the benefits of fire. The same thing with various poisons or, various dangers and things like that. There are some people that would never want to have a gun, for example. And I can understand the risks and dangers. But you cannot ignore the fact that something as dangerous as a weapon, like a gun, for example, can be used to great effect to protect you or the ones you love from danger, whether imminent or potential. So it is understanding the potential dangers, the potential spirits that are outside of your purview to better utilize for your protection. When you're having a guard up, when you have a shield up at all times, you're sort of keeping away interactions, blessings that could potentially be a boon to your life. And so it is why I urge this sort of rethinking of things like protection. Because I feel as though when you are depraving your body of certain, invaders, things like bacteria, the immune system is not boosting itself. It is not learning how to strengthen itself for what comes worse. Because there will come a time where something more powerful will breach that barrier. And then how you respond to that situation matters immensely. So these certain things, I think, are ones that you have to sort of consider when it comes to, learning how to navigate the magical world that we live in. Now, there's a lot of things that I think are quite important and quite necessary as well. And it is something that I believe needs to be taken into account. So when it comes to personal protection, let's say you want to put on a charm. Let's just say, for example, you want to be different. You're like, well, I want to avoid any sort of negative energy. Well, what does that look like? We sort of have this idea about what negative energy is. It makes us feel bad. It makes us feel icky. It makes us feel whatever. And we don't like it, But sometimes the person you least expect to help you in a given situation is a person you don't like, is a person you don't want, and is a person who could potentially be very dangerous. But they can help you. Just because something is negative does not mean it is not good. This is where we sort of get into the weeds here, the gray areas in magic, because magic is very gray. You can have someone that's incredibly dangerous, but perhaps it could be something about you that they're willing to help out, but perhaps for a price. So if you pay them a certain price or cost, they will take it to what you need to go. They could be very dangerous. They may not want to help you, but something about you can cause them to sort of switch just because something is malevolent, or I'm sorry, malevolent, and something is bad, perhaps in a state of time, doesn't mean that it has to remain so. I don't believe things are permanently that constant. Something is constantly evil all the time. They can have that inclination, but they could probably do something once in a while. That may not be a big deal to them, but they're like, I don't care, whatever. I mean, I was like, look, I normally don't like people like you, but if you have what I'm looking for, I'm willing to do an even trade. I'm willing to help you out, you know? And so that is something that I think all of us need to sort of think about when you're talking about things like protection. I myself don't really wear any sort of things like protection really often at all. If I'm going to places that I already know, I know the location, I don't really have a need to wear certain protective charms. I do have some, but I don't really wear those protective charms. If I'm going somewhere new that I don't know, for example, I'm not familiar with or whatever, I feel very confident in myself, but I would still perhaps wear a charm to give me that added layer of protection. If I want no general interaction with anyone in the area, with anything at all, then by all means, you wear that sort of charm to protect yourself against everything. I feel as though the simplest things can probably work the best because there's not so many things in charge, okay? An iron wall is an iron wall, okay? Cast iron, bitches. It is iron wall. It is hard. It is sturdy. It is one element all the way through. The bonds are a bit tighter because they're all the same. Okay, so that sort of thing is a lot harder to get through because there's no inherent weakness or nothing different that you can exploit within the wall. Everything is all the same. Everyone has the same mindset. You know, the magic itself is simultaneous. It works the same all throughout. It's the same type of thing no matter where you go in the wall. Everything's the same. You know, you're like, I'm trying to find a weakness in this wall, but it's not weak to anything. No part of it has any sort of vulnerability I can exploit by having so many things layered in together. You know, you can have a wall with, you know, like a rattan wall or a wall of wicker or whatever. It's a bunch of little wood things stringed together. Together they are very strong, but individually they break. And so in order to break that wall, you need to approach each thing individually and break the seams individually to inevitably weaken the entire structure. But when everything is just one thing, it is incredibly hard to get rid of it. Unless if you find something specific that can affect the entire wall at once. Having something that can get through a cast iron solid slab of wall is going to be incredibly difficult. And it's going to be something that will sort of turn off any potential invaders, things that sort of want to have, you know, want to investigate. You know, it's looking at Boulder. You know, if you have to look at a wall, a slab of cement or concrete or natural wall, it's going to deter you from, you know, doing it because it takes too much strength, too much energy, too much mana to overcome that barrier because there's no little flaws you can exploit to perhaps get in easier. It's just this. It's just a wall, a plain wall, not brick. What it's just, in order for you to break that wall, you need an immense amount of mana and strength and power to breach it. So when it comes to protection, I feel as though something a bit simple perhaps works the best. You can have something very elaborate, very complicated, but it has to work, you know, rather well. I think a bit too well for it to be effective. Because something, I guess, has to make sense. But again, nothing in magic really has to make sense, really. It just has to work. But I think that might be perhaps a bit simpler approach. One of the things that I have, which I should have brought them down. Got to think about it. Probably put a picture here. One of the charms I have, for example, is one that is, you know, for protection. It has certain, what's it called? It has certain elements put in place, certain components I put there. You know, things like tiger eye, generally good for protection. Things like, you know, darker colors, things like onyx, everything else, things, or obsidian. Things that can be used, things that have been known or utilized for things like negative, whatever. And so I would, you know, write my runes on there for a bit of added thing to help reinforce this sort of thing. To sort of, you know, just overall work in general for me. And it's a rather nice, stately piece as well. People tend to like it or whatever. You know, it has, you know, when you make something look pretty, you're not supposed to put protection. It can actually work as a way to attract ideal attention while it's working in the background. It's sort of it's a facade. It looks very pleasing to the eye, but it is protective, you know. It sort of attracts attention, but it allows for things, but it still keeps certain things out. You know, and so if you want certain things that you are attracted to come towards you, then you can open the door to let it in while still keeping everything out, but it's still keeping things within the vicinity because it's not turning anyone off or turning anyone away. You know, if you have a beautiful palace with a beautiful gate, There will be people by the gate trying to get inside the palace, but the gate is keeping them out. The palace is acting as a way to attract whatever you're looking for, but the gate is still holding it behind because it has to also hold behind everything and anything that seeks to do harm. And so the person that is at the gate is going to then investigate and to see the reason as to why this sort of thing wants to let in. When you have that sort of thing in place, it sort of acts as a filtration system to allow this beneficial things to sort of go into your space or your area. So but it's a more complicated system, and at times requires the aid of perhaps an extra spirit or perhaps an external energy source to help sort of get that thing going. I'm just trying to help you visualize it. But I think that sort of thing is important when we're talking about protection. Know what, how, when, and where you're going to be, and for the purposes. And I believe the protection that is needed for it. I think I'm getting tired of seeing everyone walking around with fucking charms around the necks all the time. It could be something personal to you. That is fine. You can do that. But I think when we're talking about things like protection or whatever, I feel as though it is important to understand that you could potentially be harming yourself when you're trying to protect yourself at the same time. So I think as though when we are considering the sort of life that we're living or whatever, I think it's important for us to sort of just be more mature about this sort of thing. I feel as though you're sort of harming yourself. You're not strengthening your spirit or your character by going around with protection all the time. Almost like you're afraid of interaction. You need to have it. You need to get over it. Because I feel as though there are too many people, practitioners in general, that I believe can be a bit reclusive, which could be harmful instead because you're not allowing other spirits or other forces or other energies to aid you in your endeavors. And so I feel as though when we are talking about things like personal energy for yourself, autonomic energy, I feel as though it's important for you to sort of, only use it sparingly. You can have a charm, but only wear it when you're in strange places, okay? When you are known of the area, your spirit knows everything, you know where to go, you feel more secure. If, you could have it, perhaps you could keep it on your person, maybe in your pocket or whatever, things like that, or keep it away from the person. But when you have something like that, it's going to sort of, deter the certain things from coming into contact. When you try to protect your home, slightly different story. Your home, but it could work the same way. You could put charms, you could put spells, you could use Florida water. You could put things around your home, sort of deter certain things from coming in at all. And the only things that are in the house are things that you bring in personally. Good energy, good vibes, good spirits, whatever, that can piggyback off you. They can just come. So you can sort of open the door for those sort of things. You can sort of put things in place that help sort of attack the evil things that seek to enter your home. Sort of like how the body works with things like germs or things like viruses, or how your immune system is working. At sort of a similar level. And so when you're sort of going into your home, you sort of put these things in place, and you could just sort of do that. But if you sort of want to have a general interaction, and you sort of feel as though you sort of need a sort of contact with certain spirits, and you're having difficulty, perhaps you might want to consider taking down your walls and your protections for the time you seek these things out. So let's say, for example, you're planning to have an interaction with spirits, or you want to communicate with them. You can perhaps give something certain permissions by certain code words you could use to help bypass your barrier. A lot more complicated, I think. Or you could simply lower the barrier of your home, or take away some of the walls in certain areas of the home to allow spirits to enter, okay? You could perhaps shield half your home, okay? Then you can go to that half for safety if anything happens. And then from there, you know how to attack whatever comes close to you. And so then from that point, you then can, have this interaction. You can talk with the spirit, see what it wants. It can see what you want. You can have a conversation. And I feel as though I might have to do this because I feel as though what I put in my room, I feel as though I'm not getting the, I guess, supernatural abilities and special tendencies that I wanted. Because I think before, I put walls down specifically to sort of turn away any spirits to sort of come in. So it would redirect them outside, and, to help me sleep better, for things like general good things or regeneration. And another one for like a watcher to sort of, keep away or to look out for things that might be around by. So that could be a deterrent. And I think I felt as though I haven't really had much interactions or things like that. So that could be why. I could be biting myself in the ass because I'm trying to seek connections, but I'm disabling my phone number, I'm locking up my house, my windows. And so there could be good things that are probably trying to reach you, but they're having difficulty because you have these things in place. So, be a bit more lenient when it comes to things like protection, because I feel as though if you're not learning how to strengthen your spirit against certain attacks, your spirit is sort of being weakened. It's not strengthening itself to handle certain situations. Because you will, at one point, if you're really deep into these circles, you will come across, rather strong spirits, bad or not. And so you need to have the ability and the strength and the power to be able to face those sort of forces and to, circumvent any sort of things they're trying to put in place to sort of, destroy you, or at least weaken you or anything like that. It works. You can do your things against other spellcasters as well, or the spells or the spirits. But I was considering maybe doing that because I was like, I haven't had anything happen for quite some time, and I feel as I'm a bit, remiss despite the fact that I'm learning everything else. You could go outside your home and do it that way, but it's winter time, so it's a bit it's a bit harder. You could do things outside, but I think that's what I've noticed. I tend to have more interactions or things that happen to me because I don't have my walls up. Because as you all may know, that I do things like music. I have my drum over there in the back. I have my recorder there. I have another instrument somewhere. I have my shakers in my chest, and I sort of use these things for things like music and composing. What I've noticed is that when I'm outside of my home, I tend to get inspiration better. I get a bit more interaction, and it could be because where I am is perhaps a safe haven for these spirits or for these ideas or for these moods that could potentially be having. And it is something that I think I should probably consider doing. Because when I'm at the home, nothing sort of comes to mind really. Every now and then something might, but I'm in a sort of like in a different spot or place. So I need to consider that. But I want all of us to consider that. Perhaps maybe what we have put up, maybe the walls that we put up are working a bit too well. And so maybe the connections we are seeking can only really be had if we sort of put our walls down. And he said, below eye level. You can still have protection, you can still wear armor, but I feel as though, you know, everyone sort of has their walls up already. No one's really seeking out connections in the real world because they're afraid of certain interactions. But when we are afraid of approaching individuals or even other spirits, it can sort of damage us long term because we ourselves are social creatures and we crave social interaction for the most part. And we do have this fear that we're going to perhaps, get into trouble or we're going to have certain problems that are going to arise from these interactions. But unless if we are mature enough emotionally and spiritually to handle these situations, we're going to sort of avoid these things perhaps subconsciously, and it's going to hurt us in our workings. Because if you don't know how to speak with normal spirits, living spirits outside and every day, or even yourself, or have the way of you communing with or communicating with, spirits that are dead or perhaps other forces is going to perhaps be a bit more different. You're reading books by authors that are out there experimenting and doing everything else they kind of communicating. But even these people have to be able to interact with spirits outside as well. So I think these sort of things are going to be rather important when we are considering working with, spirits or anything else in that craft. Things like energy as well. But that's pretty much my spin on things like protection, whether or not you need it. I would say only in certain circumstances. You only use protection when you're going to have sex. Okay, you don't just have your condom on 24/7. That's stupid. It's idiotic. You can have it on your person and then whip it out whenever you are suspecting personal interaction, healthy interaction as well. And it can be rather beneficial to you. And it can also protect you from potentially bad side effects. So I think protection, use it when you have to use it. Don't use it every day. Don't use it all the time because you're going to deprive yourself of experiences that could be beneficial to your life, to your magic. And so, be a bit less apprehensive, be a bit more opening, but keep a knife on you. Keep a way of protecting yourself and keeping things at bay when it gets to that point. But don't clad yourself in all armor. Don't have your shield up all the time. That's going to occlude your face and any possible interactions you can have with anyone else, okay? That's just my spiel. But without further ado, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I do hope that this sort of information proved useful and beneficial to you. I understand that I can perhaps ramble on a bit, but I was trying to be a bit more specific when it came to sort of instance. I want all of you to understand that you are part of a group, a community, a family that cares for you, that loves you, that seeks your growth, and that seeks your growth in knowledge, that seeks your growth in power, that seeks your growth in, personal development. And it is something that I urge all of us to have and to sort of explore and sort of seek out personal development, spiritual development, mental development. We're trying to be beyond ourselves and better than ourselves. And this will, in turn, benefit others as well. We need to sort of learn how to communicate with one another and to other spirits. I urge all of you to keep up in your studies, that you also, bring those walls down a bit, but keep your strength up so that you are strengthened and powerful enough to handle any situation you come across. I urge all of you to practice safety, whether it is sex or magic. And if you have a brother locked on occasion, let him out once in a while. I urge all of you to remember to, be well, to be kind, rewind, reassess, and practice in excess greatness. And to remember that on this channel, we are family, we are friends, and we are seeking new interactions. So I would sort of go out there, meet new people. If you're a bit not sure about it, think about it critically. Think about what is the right thing to say, what's proper thing, what would make sense, and explore those options in that avenue. And perhaps what you'll find may be something worthwhile. Until next time, my rats, I love you dearly, and goodbye.